Shalom and welcome to another edition of Parsha Talk. I'm Rabbi Elliot Malamet in Highland Park, New Jersey, at the Highland Park Conservative Temple Congregation Anshe Emet. Joining me and my good friends, Rabbi Barry Chesler, Solomon Schechter Day School of Long Island, and Rabbi Jeremy Kalinowski, the Anshe Chesed of New York City. We are recording this on day 12 of this new war. We don't know what to call this war. And all we want to do is, the epic fury or lion's roar. We just hope and pray that it will end soon. Lots of people under attack all over Israel. The sirens coming daily, many times a day. I just got a text from somebody in Israel who lives in the north, and today happens to be a rather difficult day in the north. It's now nighttime there, and they're getting a lot of rockets from Hezbollah. So we hope and pray that they keep safe. They stay in their shelters, and they know that they are with us and we are with them on this day. We are recording this on the week of Parshat Vayakhel Pekudei, double Parsha. We are coming to the end of the Book of Shmot. It's also one of the special Parshiot before Pesach. Excuse me, the Parshat Hachodesh. As I get a swig of water here, Rabbi Kalmanovsky, you want to tell us what Hachodesh is about?
We read, as we just did a few weeks ago in Parshat Bo, we read Exodus chapter 12. It's the Parsha just before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the month which is Passover, but is also the first normative mitzvah in the Torah. There are some practices that the ancestors are described as doing, and they get and like the not eating the sciatic nerve out of an animal, and the Gid Hanasheh, and the Jacob wrestling with the angel story. But the Exodus 12 is the first spot in the Torah where God says to Moses, the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt and said, tell the people that this is to be reckoned as the first month. Okay. So on the eve of the new month of Nisan, we get ready for Passover by reading that first command and getting ready to call Nisan the true beginning of the year in a sense.
I'm going to make the homiletical leap from chapter 12 of Exodus to chapter 40 of Exodus. I would do this as a Jeopardy question on one of my famous Passover Jeopardies, but for the sake of not embarrassing anybody, including myself, I would say, what's the connection? What's the connection between Parshat Hachodesh and the establishment or the completion of the Mishkan?
Do you watch Jeopardy?
I don't watch Jeopardy. I just
you have to state it as a statement, and then the respondents have to say, all right. So what is the connection between Exodus 12 and
this event happened on the first day of the month of Nisan in the second year? What is
the connection between what happened in the first year in Nisan and the second year in Nisan?
So, what happened? So the quiz question is
form of a question.
What when was the Mishkan assembled? The Mishkan was assembled on the first day of the second of Nisan of the second year. Okay, so in a sense, there is. Let's make the case that there's a deliberate connection between Exodus and the Mishkan. That they're both they both happen in the same month, and that the fact that liberation happens in Nisan, which culminates in the establishment of the Mishkan, tells you what the arc of the book of Exodus is. All right, is the arc of the book of Exodus the month of Nisan? Now, Barry, you may have an alternate view on the arc of the book of the Exodus, or do you?
I might. So what's striking is that it seems the way that you described it is that the Exodus, meaning the leaving of Egypt, culminates with the end of the book of Exodus, meaning it's the establishment of the Mishkan that concludes the process of the Exodus. Yes. Because now the people have their central institution constructed, and now they can do all the things that God has been telling them to do throughout the book of Exodus once we got to the legal parts. And that's quite powerful, because what we read on Shabbat is the prequel to the Exodus. It's right before they leave Egypt. It's the setting it up, which suggests that the significance of the commandment to number Nisan as the first month is that once the Israelites have some sense of control over their time, that's when they can learn to be free.
Yeah,
And the rest is history, as they say.
indeed. So just take a second to explore one aspect of the last chapter in the book of Exodus. A moment that I find rather evocative and raising a lot of questions. As usual, nobody else is interested in this, which always tells me that maybe my head is in a different place. But we all have that experience, I hope, right? We all get interested in
Of your
things.
head being in a different
Yeah,
place?
no,
Yes.
no. Yeah, I think we all have the experience of getting curious about something that nobody else is curious about. So
Yeah.
my curiosity has to do with the fact that in chapter 40, verse 20, it says that Moses took the tablets, basically the edut, and here we have we have to assume that it's not the shattered tablets, but whatever exists as the whole tablets. And I've always pictured them, oh, not always, but I now picture them as small tablets that are that are incisable, that are probably no bigger than the palm of your hand. He takes these tablets, and then it says he puts the testimony in the ark, in the box, and then he puts the poles on the box, and then he puts the cover on the box from the top, the kaporet, and then he brings the box into the sacred space, and he places a curtain before the box, and then he drapes the curtain, separating the box from everything. Okay? Kasher tziva Adonai et Moshe, as God has commanded. And we've studied this before, and we know that this is a deliberate kind of re-echoing of creation, that there is a kind of, that there's 7 stages here. It's I love this passage in the book of Exodus. I just think it's such a great rhapsody to it's a song to the temple or the Mishkan, and it's deliberately organized to imitate creation. It's in 7 stages, and there's 7 stages to the kind of completion of the Mishkan, right? So what I'm interested in is this act of putting it in the box, covering the box, and putting the box away as the holy act, and in some way that's kind of like it activates the covenant. I think of the covenant the people have a ceremony at Mount Sinai, the blood and everything, Naaseh v'Nishma, that's all the ceremony. But at what point does it become active? And I'm thinking of the following, right? You sign a bill into law. It goes where? It goes into the archive. And, I guess there's a moment where at the signature, when the president signs the law, it becomes enacted. And where does the document go? The document goes into an archive. And for all intents and purposes, nobody has to see it again, because authentic copies of the archive are promulgated and copied, and we see them on the internet now. Okay, the founding documents of this country exist in a very sacred chamber in the National Archives in Washington. You can see them. They're under certain hermetic conditions. At the end of the day, when they are no longer visible, the document goes in the ground in a vault, and it's kept away. Now, it's obviously kept in the vault for protection, but there's something, what strikes me is that by putting something away and making it kind of invisible, it sacralizes it. It makes it, and by putting a veil in front of it, back to the ark, you're saying, I am placing the tablets within a box. It's almost like, the nesting dolls, right? The thing is in a box. The box is in a room. The room is sheltered by a veil. The room is inside another room with another veil, and it's inside a complex which is actually, bounded by curtains and other things. And so And if you were to ask, what's there? You say, the tablets are there. Has anybody seen them? No. Well, how do you know they're there? Because we know they're there. And I find that interesting.
Well, why is it okay? Why is it that the hiding activates it? Because just take an example. Like, I mean, we're making this is obviously very fanciful, uh, example up. If the president decreed that Congress passed and the president signed into law, that suddenly, at some point, LSD was not a forbidden drug, and then it became a forbidden drug, and he signed it into law, and it becomes a federal penalty, Schedule 2 narcotic, or whatever they call those things, and then before it gets into the archive, somebody violates it. They're guilty already because it was when he signed it, not you do things. There's a famous essay in philosophy of language, how doing things with words, right? It's when I say Harav Mekudeshetli and I give you the ring, that's what kicks it in. It's not the disposition of the Kitsubah. So I'm not thinking.
Well, wait.
So I want to add, Elliot, before you respond,
Yeah,
I just want to add one thing. And that is the way you describe the two verses 20 and 21 is in ritual terms. It's the ritual that sacralizes the tablets. But as far as I know, there is no ritual for putting a document in the archives. And this particular ritual in these verses, no one sees because Moses is the only one who gets into the Holy of Holies until the high priest will. So what's missing, what I'd like you to address is why you think that it's ritualized when it doesn't seem to constitute a ritual.
I'll tell you why.
I also don't quite see this.
I'll tell you why I say it. Because every week I do this. Every Monday, Thursday, every Shabbos I do it in the morning and in the afternoon. I put something back in an ark, and admittedly, it's not a secret. It's not a secretive thing. I think what I'm doing and what we're all doing when we take the Torah out of the ark and open it up and read it is an inversion of this, and it's a radical inversion of the sequestration of the tablets. And it makes an important theological statement. What it says is that which has been sequestered and placed in the Holy of Holies, an authentic replica of that in parchment and on ink, comes out on a regular basis and is read so that it is encountered with, orally by a community, and the community lives by these words, okay? So what we have basically is a kind of radical inversion of an establishment that is so removed from the people, and it has power over the people in their imagination. The tablets are in a box with kruvim on it in a sacred space that no one is ever going to see. They captivate our imagination. The Torah is something that we see, that we read, that is available. We touch it, we embrace it, we dance with it, we study it, and it shapes our lives. And I think that there's something that Judaism understands the movement from the sacred space into the public domain, in the sense that we're trying to make a bit of the public domain sacred. And I think that's what's happening. I think so. My little homily on this, it's not I think
it's not so little anymore.
I think it's pshat. I think it's and I think what I think is it's not pshat, but it's a stage of interpretation which says, this moment is significant. I understand. I get the sense that you take special things and you put them in a vault, okay, and that there are only certain times when a person has access to them. Jewelry, wills and testaments, other things of tremendous value, documents, founding documents. You
have to think this through a little bit, though.
Okay.
So the tablets are put in the ark, and they're never seen again.
Correct.
By anyone, right? Because there's no ritual for.
So I think that's true. I tried to look this up, and I can't find any reference to And they opened the ark and they took out the
Right.
tablets and they read the
I mean,
tablets.
there's nothing that comes to mind that says that the high priest will open it on any
No,
special occasion.
the main thing
So,
in even the verse is the kaporet. The kaporet is the most important aspect of it. No longer, it's no longer the it's things happen in front of the kaporet. The
so
cleaving.
what seems to me, I was struck by your earlier comment about the connection between this and creation, but where I think I would go in a different direction than you is that creation is God making himself manifest. That's why we have a world. Revelation, the way you're describing it, is creating the inaccessible God. Not creating is the wrong verb, but in other words, everything now is inaccessible, as if to suggest that revelation must be concretized in a different way than from the tablets themselves.
So the tablets become inaccessible, but the Torah itself in Judaism, the Judaism that we all live and breathe, is radically accessible. It's the inverse of it's
Well,
so
that's how it's like creation,
yeah.
right? The creation is radically accessible. We can go anywhere on the earth, so to speak.
Right. So
I find it somewhat counterintuitive. I mean, okay, I accept the point that by the nature of the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKodeshim, the sacred zone, and then the super high sacred zone where only the high priest goes on exceedingly rare occasions, and that's where the ark is, and that the ark is a kind of throne for the invisible God, and they didn't go in there on every Monday and Thursday to read the Parsha. And I accept that as a logical claim, but it's counterintuitive to me to think that either biblical religion or certainly rabbinic religion treats the revelation and the evidence of it as totally inaccessible. That's not vibing with me for a religion of Vizot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei Bnei Israel.
okay, because we don't
Do you
have
lift
them
your
anymore.
finger when you say that verse, Jeremy?
I don't.
What about you, Elliot?
I don't. I nod.
Yeah, neither do I.
Okay. No, we don't have a Kodesh Kodeshim, and of course we're millennia removed from that, but we have this in our imagination, and we do have things like it. The closest I can get an analogy is, so I'm talking about, I'm writing about the prototype of the meter, right? The length of the distance, okay? It was a platinum iridium bar. It's in a vault in Paris that only 3 people who have different keys can access, and you need to get a resolution from the Bureau de blah, 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 blah in order to access the meter, right?
No, you got
And
to
I'm
pronounce
saying
that
to
right.
myself,
You gotta
why?
You have to.
It's the Bureau.
The Bureau.
The blah, blah,
Why?
blah.
Why would anybody want to do this? And the answer is because you want to see it, because you want to measure. Measurements are important. When they establish a convention of measurements in about 100 years ago or 200 years ago, this was important. It's important, and today it's important. We need to know that a gallon is a gallon, a meter is a meter, a foot, whatever. Otherwise,
Well, when do we actually need to know that?
we need to know that when you buy stuff in the store. I mean, how often do you open up a package and you think, wait a minute, it says 12 ounces here, and I have only 6 ounces here, right?
It's interesting. I work as a mashgiach at the Ben's restaurants on Long Island, and I'm often surprised the number of times that the weight of the things that get to the store is not the weight that's on the bill.
How about that?
Right?
Okay?
They have to weigh everything.
Right. And so against what standard, right? And so this becomes important in business.
We have I mean, apart now from the question of the sanctity of the luchot, and I have a small theory to maybe square that circle about the accessibility versus inaccessibility. But one of the important mitzvot in the Torah is lo yeh bekischa even ve'aven gola u'tana. You should not have sneaky, dishonest weights and measures with just refers to a stone, right? And ephah ve'ephah, two volume measures. like the 1.1 pound stone when you want to buy something because they're weighing it out in a balance,
Right.
and the 0.9 pound stone when you want to sell something, just to have a little small cheat like that. So the somehow ancient people had intuitively standard weights and measures, even without the official meter that's sitting in the barn, sitting in the
Okay,
vault.
fine. So, but the idea that a culture, a civilization would know that you have a standard, I think is really important. Let me give you a different example, okay? Because it's germane to us, and we probably could understand it on a much more kind of religious, spiritual basis. The Dead Sea Scroll, the Isaiah Scroll, okay, this extraordinary artifact that is probably the longest, most authentic, most ancient scroll in a, the Ketav Ashuri, the Assyrian Hebrew script. It's about a 2,000-year-old scroll. Okay, it exists, but they don't put it out there. It's in the shrine of the book at the Israel Museum, and until this new war started, they had just decided that they were going to have a limited display of the Isaiah scroll, and then the war started, and then they just wrapped it up, rolled it up, and put it back in the vault. Nobody sees this scroll, okay? And in order to have had the chance to see the scroll, you would have to kind of make a reservation and get in line, and it would be a real privilege to see the real. What's there now in the Shrine of, to the best of my recollection, is a facsimile. They have a display of a facsimile. I'm not interested in seeing facsimiles of anything. Okay, I
I'm
want to
looking
see the
right
most.
now.
Right, you're looking at it now. So what's
I'm
going
looking
on?
at it right now on. I can put it in a chat if you want.
Okay, I'll make you share.
Um, uh, and you want to know one of the most amazing things about the Isaiah scroll?
Yeah, what?
Yeah, putting it in the chat.
Hang on.
When
But I'm making you
Isaiah,
co-host. You can share it.
oh,
Put it up
okay,
for our viewers.
okay. Share doc. Here we go. Share. There's the Isaiah scroll,
Yeah,
and I want to see if I can find for you.
if you, the name of God.
No. The most fabulous thing. Um, it says he hears the angels. V'karazel zevi amar kadosh kadosh
Two
Adonai
kadoshes.
Tzvaot. Two kadoshes.
He
Really?
ran out of holiness.
It's chapter
See if I can
6,
find it.
right?
Chapter 6, right?
Yeah.
Be early on
Vayit
in the
malei
scroll.
Hashan ve'amar. Um, I'm right in the right
Yeah.
place.
It's there, the fifth line,
I'm looking.
upper line.
Kadosh kadosh.
Kadosh.
Look right
Wow.
there. Kadosh
So
kadosh. That's the next
what's your
vote.
what's your why do we have three? I did a whole class on this,
I don't
and
have any idea. I mean, obviously, the famous this appears in our liturgy in what's called Kedusha de Sidra, where you read the Aramaic translation verses. Kadosh bishmei ilah beit shchinte, holy up in heaven. Kadosh al ara uvad burate, holy on earth. Uh, Kadosh le'olam maya, holy eternally. So before the translators of the Targum, probably a little bit later than the Dead Sea Scrolls, but not a ton later, they had three. But for whatever reason, the Dead Sea Scrolls people had two kadoshes.
well, so I give a whole lecture on this with three kadoshes, and the idea that there are two. There's the idea of God as kadosh, holy, intimate, and tavaot, Adonai Tzvaot, the transcendent God, and that what Isaiah did was fuse the two, and that's I forget that's the
That's
You
that's
know,
beautiful. But you can do that. You
one
can do that
cannot
with
help
that
but wonder if it
anyway.
was influenced by of an early form of Christianity,
for a
All right.
the
triune.
Trinity.
So
But
in the paper that
by
I'm
the
going
way,
to
you don't
write,
even have Elliot. That's a great Josh, which I also I have a similar view, but I get there a slightly different way. Uh, Kadosh typically means separate.
yes,
So kadosh, 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 so lofty, whether it's two or three, umilo kol haaretz, and yet the world is full of it. So
sure.
isn't that like such a daring theological image, both totally beyond and totally
I
present?
look. That's Yitkadal v'Yitkadash.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay. So I'm gonna write my parsha sheet on this subject, and send it to you all and get your reaction. Okay, baby. But let's spend 5 minutes to talk about Hachodesh, because what all these parshas are supposed to do, the special parshiyot before Pesach, they're supposed to get your head into the mood of Pesach. You're supposed to begin orienting, and as older as we get, the more I think we need to find our way to shape the experience of Pesach. And these parshiot really are quite effective in saying to us, it's coming. Last week was Shabbat Parah. We of course had the week before Purim, which was Zachor, and Shkalim. But Hachodesh really says, okay, it's coming, because Rosh Chodesh is next week, and we're orienting ourselves towards Pesach. And I wish the weather would cooperate. The weather is somewhat cooperative now. We're turning into spring. Of course, in Israel, it's the most beautiful time of the year. But this parsha kind of makes us shift. I want, and is there anything that you could share on this passage that kind of leaps out for you? We talked a little bit about the connection between Rosh Chodesh Nisan and the Hukama Mishkan. The Mishkan is set up on the Rosh Chodesh Nisan. I think that's an important connection, obviously. But what are you taking away from this chapter? Chapter 12 in the Book of Exodus, kind of a redo of what we did earlier in Parshat Bo. Anything that you want to talk about? I remember we said this, since Rabbi Eliezer Diamond passed away. I'll quote him again and saying, his beautiful remarks about this chapter is the emphasis on the family, and that the creation, the emphasis on the family is a way of declaring freedom. That freedom is the rebellion against the tyrannical power that wants to break up the family, and that all tyrannical powers, one of their major instrumentalities is to shatter family, and we see that happens a lot.
I mean, I can't help, as you talk about this, thinking about African slavery in the American South.
100%, yeah.
Those, like, when you go to I don't think the president has closed it yet, the African American History Museum at the Smithsonian, or in Charleston, South Carolina, there's a spectacular museum in the site of a former slave market, and they talk all the time about the just devastation, because people, even under these terrible conditions, adults form romantic and emotional bonds. They have sex, they have children, and the parent-child feeling, the sibling feeling, these things are just indelible, and just part of the human animal, and the devastation of the disruption of that is just
Look, we saw it,
incalculable.
of course, in the Holocaust. That's a major way to crush a people, is to crush the family structure, and a way to reassert your peoplehood is through the reconstitution of family bonds. And
And that comes through so strongly in
indeed,
a
yes,
midrash that I know we've discussed, many times. The Haggadah has the midrash from Ezekiel 16. God finds the abandoned baby Israel in the desert. This metaphor of okay, it's a little bit weird, because the male God in this passage finds the abandoned baby Israel, helps her grow up, and then marries her. So it's a little weird, um, but God says the baby is covered in blood. It says b'damayich chayi va'omar lach b'damayich chayi. It's our Brit Milah liturgy, but but it's also, blood is just naturally a plural word, like mayim
yeah,
in Hebrew. So damim, the word for blood, is bloods. And v'omar lach b'damayich chayi, live in your blood. And the great midrash is dam pesach v'dam brit, the blood of circumcision and the blood smeared on the walls at Passover. This is the constitution of the Israelite community, and sharing that blood. Nowadays, in which there's a certain kind of love makes a family, and there's wider variety of where people come from, multi-ethnic, multiracial, all of those things which are true. Lots more conversion than there ever was. And yet, even imaginatively, when you come into the people, we are bound with bonds of blood, as well as as Abraham Lincoln said, mystic cords of memory.
Memory, yeah. So, any last words on Hachodesh, Barry? Anything?
I would make 2 points, I guess. First, we see the fusion of Matzot, the festival of the unleavened bread, and Pesach, which is mostly in the Torah, the Korban Pesach. And the Korban Pesach really is a shepherd's holiday, and Matzot is a farmer's holiday, and this goes all the way back to Cain and Abel. And when we put the two together, we're looking for a kind of cosmic redemption. The other thing that I wanted to say, which I think is worth noting, is that matzah I like to call interrupted bread. It requires a human being to interrupt a natural process in order to make matzah. There is no such thing as safe matzah. I think that's the origin of the prohibition on kitniot. And what we have is a statement that our redemption requires us. We're not passive bystanders. We have to be intimately involved. And, it goes back to that nice verse in the Parsha where we have to gird our loins and eat ready to go.
Yeah.
And I find that a powerful
It
message.
didn't happen the way it says, but that's our debate.
Yeah.
Well,
we'll be able to pick it up again on Pesach.
Indeed. Look,
It'll come up again. Exactly.
we reached this end of our time. We want to thank people who are watching and people who are listening. We really appreciate that and are honored by that, and hope that our discussions of Torah make your day. They shape your day. And
they make our day, so we hope
a little bit of Torah during the day. So in the meantime, everyone have a beautiful Shabbat. We'll see you
Shabbat
next
shalom.
week. Okay, bye-bye. Shabbat shalom.